A big hello and a very warm welcome to this far-packed edition of Brand Equity with me, Sonali Krishna. It's been a week of some serious oscillation. Big, bold announcement from the centre finally allowing 51% FDI in multi-brand retail, 100% FDI in single-brand retail. With this announcement, the retail revolution in the country is unquestionable. But the political debate over FDI in multi-brand retail that has dragged on for many years now has predictably taken a sharp overtone. The opposition going all out to ensure a roll of the policy. Hence today, Brand Equity brings a riveting discussion on everything that transpired over the last few days and its business ramifications. The big debate focuses on the political deadlock and what the business implication will be going forward. We also take a look how FDI in multi-brand retail will impact all the protagonists involved with this decision, from retailers to kiranas to FMCG manufacturers and of course the consumer. Who will be the biggest beneficiary and who will be the biggest loser? And to get your clarity on all that, joined by the biggest names in the retail and FMCG sector, ladies and gentlemen, over the next 30 minutes, watch Thomas Verghese, Vijay Kurian, B.S. Nagesh, Nitin Paranjpe, Mariwala, Harsh Goenka and RSP indulge in one of the sharpest discussions on FDI in retail on Indian Vision. Let's head straight into the first big debate of the show. The discussion really looks at the political ramifications of FDI in multi-brand retail. While the policy is an executive decision and has no real requirement to be passed in Parliament, the pressure of the opposition to roll it back cannot be ignored. The situation is currently so dynamic that political posturing is not only coming from the opposition but also from within the Congress. Also, don't forget, while it may be passed by the centre, FDI in retail is still a state subject, makes the entire situation even more complex. I'm now joined by Thomas Verghese, Bigurian and B.S. Nagesh to discuss business implications of this entire mess. Thank you so much for joining me, gentlemen. Specifically about FDI in multi-brand retail, it's unfortunately a state subject. Doesn't that change the mood, optimism to possibly apprehension and maybe even pessimism? Let me start with you, Thomas.
My argument to this is very simple. I think in the last 5 years, when modern retail in India has grown by almost something like 23-24%, we have seen the small unorganized sector growing at one of the fastest rates we have grown at. If you ask any of the consumer product group company and you ask them, how have you diversified your base of distribution, you will find an amazing response. You will find that each one of them have added millions of new outlets to their distribution reach. What does this really mean? It means that a single store is shut down. They continue to grow by 12-14% and continuing to expand.
Right. Biju, I can bring you in here. What's your point of view on, this whole political mess we've into?
If you were to go back to the ICRIER report, which was published about 18 months back, obviously they had actually gone into this issue in reasonable detail and tried to understand what would be the implications with the introduction of modern retail, what would be the implications on the traditional retailers, and they came away with the conclusion that the implications are minimal. And what we have seen over the last many years is that wherever retailers have come in, traditional retailers have actually moved into models which are probably one step ahead of what modern retailers do. But unfortunately, I think the events of the 4 days have kind of dampened the enthusiasm, and I think the mood is from extreme optimism was there at that point of time to now, I guess, cautious optimism.
As a country with more than 1-2 billion people, we are fast moving to an era where it will not be surprising to see food shortages. I think the only way out is investment in the agricultural backend, investment into processing industries, investment into better farm practices to improve the yield of our farmers.
So Nagesh, let me get you in now. What are the business implications for international retailers who have been eagerly awaiting and planning India entry? Given the fact that the policy states that the entry is possible in 53 cities, but the on-ground availability will be only close to about 20 cities, considering the fact that this is a state subject and all of us here are aware that there is some serious opposition from a number of states. So what does this partial entry and non-availability of the entire country mean for international retailers?
Sonali, if you talk to any international retailer world over, I mean, India is much bigger than Europe. Ask any one of them when did they enter Europe together. When you go into Italy first and then go into France, then go into Germany, then go into UK. So I think if you look at India, such a vast country, such a large potential, I mean, any could come and still make $1 billion plan in Maharashtra. So I think it is a matter of how people focus. And don't forget, even when you look at the existing retailers, I mean, I can make a guesstimate to say that 40% of the business comes from top 5 cities, 85% comes from the top 20 cities. And since it's a 10 to 15 year game, anybody can plan a step-by-step, city, state-by-state entry. The only clarity that they would require is that when you are bringing a large capital investment, they would have a horizon of 20, 30, 40 years. So they know that in 30, 40 years, they can enter all the states and all the various cities in the country.
Biju, do you share the same kind of optimism that Nagesh has, that it doesn't matter if, India as a country is not available? Doesn't that impact your back end in some way?
I think for them it complicates the issue. What that does mean is that if you have an international retailer coming into the market, it obviously means that you make national plans. It also means that your entire supply chain infrastructure that you want to build up will get hampered by the fact that some states will not allow you to source directly from the farms. And ultimately, at the end of the day, when you're forcing them into putting in 30-50% of the investment into the back end, it will be suboptimal in terms of an investment. And all of that doesn't work well as far as the economics of scale business goes.
Right. Going to the other point of ambiguity really in this whole and multi-brand retail, $100 million to be $100 million to be invested in how many years? That's quite unclear. And is that actually viable? And how many, apart from the three or four big names we've been hearing about, really have the ability to put up such kind of monies on the bill? I'd like your response on this, Nagesh.
As far as the back-end investment is concerned, honestly, I don't have the detailed fine print. But if you look at it, it is not just back-end in the cold storage or in refrigerated vans or into the farm folk. Even if you look at, let's say, the garment industry, okay, if the garment industry comes and large stores come into multi-branding, okay, it is totally economically unviable for them to import everything. Okay, make the economics viable, because Indian real estate is expensive and Indian activity per person in terms of cost is not very cheap, although the labor may look cheap. Okay, so they would also want investments to be done in backward integration so that they are able to really support a much better infrastructure to supply them. Okay, and these people come in, they will require fixture manufacturers, various other industries are going to come up and grow. So in the non-food sector, investments will come by backward integration. How that can be done in a way that it satisfies the government's norms, I really don't know at this stage. But in the food segment, most of them will come in infrastructure for development, and it's logistics, distribution centers. And like I said, the impact will come in about 3 to 5 years, because $50 million investment to 55 will take about 3 years' time.
Biju, if I bring you in on this one, how many big international players actually invest and find the Indian market viable?
100 million to be brought in by a retailer. No time frame has actually been specified at this point of time. But I guess you might have to, like the old saying, go me the money. And that's when you probably get the permission to actually invest. That's the first part of it. The second part of it is to be able to put in 100 million into a few states, which currently allow, multi-brand retail to start. With 50% of that being in the back end is anyway, I think, a non-starter. The third part of it is that there are existing retailers in this country, international retailers like Walmart and Tesco and Carrefour, many of them who currently are involved only in the back end, might use the limit ownership as a way of being able to get a sense of the front end. They'll still be cautious in their expansion. Somebody like Carrefour, who's probably in the back end, will move into a B2C model rather than just the B2B model.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Thank you, Biju. Thank you, Nagesh, and thank you, Miss. After that heavy debate, it's time for a Sridhar. But up next It's the big impact discussion with the sector's heavyweights. Stay with us.